Hello and welcome back. This is the Great Living Sources YouTube channel. I'm GL Snodgrass. This is the 11th of January 2019. Today we're going to talk about the government shutdown. 25 years in the Army, and then about 10, 15 years of dealing with military contracts and military services. I've been around and I've seen a few military shutdowns, although I believe this is probably the longest one that I can ever recall. Not sure how it's ranking within the rest of the ones in the history of the United States. But what I want to talk about is the self-reliance aspect of this. So, and even though this is the government shutdown and the government's basically no pay dues, what we used to call it in the Army, this can happen with anything, with any of our jobs, with any of our positions. Being self-reliant and self-sustaining is a critical aspect of being ready for any type of natural or human influence disaster. So some of the things that we're going to talk about is, some things that you can do to help you through these times in a short term, because right now we have a government shutdown. We have folks who are not going to be getting paid, something to the tune of 800,000. We have people who have been laid off, are unemployed, who are getting into critical mass as far as not having the money that they need in order to pay their basic necessities, food, water, and shelter. So this is going to be some things that you can do immediately, but then we're also going to discuss some of the things that are more long-term that you can do to help become self-reliant and self-sustaining so that these kinds of things don't impact you. We've got, I just got a weather bug message today that we're supposed to be getting some snow and ice. There's a band of going across basically the Tennessee, east and west through Virginia, going back west towards Missouri and stuff, where a line of snow and ice is supposed to be coming through, and the north is supposed to be getting a lot of snow, as is the northeast. So while we're going to talk about, the focus of this is self-reliance. The catalyst was the government shutdown. So people now understand that being self-reliant, being self-sustaining is something that's pretty important. I've done several blogs, articles on this. I will put them in the comments below the video. But we're going to discuss some things that you can do now, because now is when it's happened. But we're also going to talk about some aspects that are long-term that can help you to become self-reliant and self-sustaining. Okay, so sorry, my coffee. So some of the things that we're going to talk about, budget tips, some immediate things that you can do that can help you right now during this time of crisis. So scrap metal is still being sold and are bought and sold. So collecting scrap metal, aluminum cans, junk parts, copper, all of these things can be collected and turned in and be converted into money. Okay. Now, a bit of a warning. I know in some past years there was copper was pretty high, and a lot of people were stealing copper off of telephone poles and power lines and stuff in order to turn it into scrap. I highly discourage you to not do that, okay? Because number one, it's going to have an impact on the infrastructure itself, which we've already discussed. Number two, it is very dangerous. People have been killed trying to take um, copper lines off of power poles and power lines. So do not take the copper off, try to get it off of a power line. Even if you think it may be down and dead and it's not lit, do not do that, okay? Unfortunately, there are millions of aluminum cans out there that people just toss out the windows of their vehicles. Those are maybe not as worth as much, but they're a whole lot safer. So get the scrap metal. I mean, there's all kinds of scrap metal that's been junked by the roads, old washing machines, dryers, whatever it is. Collect this and then salvage that stuff, okay? In fact, that's one of the things that I would like to eventually get into, is to do a recycling. Another thing that you can do is to have a yard sale. A lot of folks over the years collect stuff and seem to not throw stuff away. So one of the things that you can do is to have a yard sale or garage sale, whatever you want to call it, and make some money this way. Another thing that you can do is you can change the deductibles on your insurances. Those of you that actually have insurance, by raising the deductible, especially like life, auto, home, a lot of those deductibles are the part that you got to pay before the insurance company does. Some of the things that you would use insurance for example, an automobile, replacing a windshield. A windshield costs less than $200 for most of them, okay? But if you use the insurance to actually pay that, and you have a $50 deductible, that $150 that the insurance company pays is going to raise your premium. So a lot of the things that you want to be able to, a lot of the small items, small ticket items that you can cover by yourself is going to help you in the long run as well. So changing the deductibles on insurance is something that can work. Reducing your utility usage. Turn off the lights if it's not needed. Turn off appliances that you're not using or devices that you're not using. And that includes monitors, computers, all these different things, because even if you turn it off, like with a remote, it doesn't actually turn itself off. And there's a lot of, I forget what the word is, but basically residual electricity usage that, there's little lights oftentimes on devices. That light actually is using electricity, and all of these things combined can actually make your electric bill higher. So if you actually turn the device off, go to the device, the TV, the whatever, and unplug it or push the off button. Yeah, it's a little less inconvenient, but it's going to help to save money in the long run. Some other things that you can do. We're getting into winter, and as I have talked about before, there is a snow system that is coming across. Basically, it's going to go across the state of Tennessee, up into Kentucky, back into Missouri, all the way into West Virginia, Virginia, and move itself north. Indiana, Michigan, those guys are supposed to be getting some snow. When I was younger, I used to walk in town from our place in the country to shovel snow in town, because that was one of the ways that I could make some money, shoveling sidewalks, parking lots, whatever I could, whoever I could do. So that's another way that you can do it, especially in these times. There's elderly folks can't always get out and shovel sidewalks and stuff. Um, but be courteous. Don't try to take advantage of people just because of the situation you're in. We still need to remain balanced. We still need to focus on the core calm. We need to help uh, our fellow neighbors, even if things are going crazy. All right, we need to stay balanced. We need to stay focused. We need to stay centered. Um, if we start to take advantage, then we become part of the problem and not the solution. Okay, so let's all work together to come together as a community and as a country, instead of trying to take advantage and trying to take care of ourselves first. Okay, and I'm not saying don't take care of yourself. What I'm saying is there's a right way and a wrong way. So please focus on the right way. So now some of the long-term things that you can do to become more self-reliant, self-sustainable, is to grow your own food. Okay, um, a lot of our paychecks go to basically food, rent, and utilities. Okay, so if we focus on aspects, each aspect at a time. So the first thing that we can do that is the most cost effective, that is the easiest to do, is to grow our own food. Now, not only is our food that we grow ourselves likely to be better, because you can get, your own seeds and grow these things. You don't look for things that are non-GMO. Look for heirloom types of fruit and vegetable seeds. So as we grow these things, then the food that we grow is going to be better. It's going to be better for us, and it's not going to cost us as much. So growing our own food also leads to preserving our own foods, whether it's canning, freezing, dry, dehydrating, or freeze drying. That food is going to last us longer and it's going to be better for us. Okay, so growing your own food is one way. Getting off the grid is another. Now, I know some places frown on this, and there's been talk about folks who've gotten in trouble because they live off the grid or they want to live off the grid, and that may be possible. There may be areas of our country in which that is possible, but hopefully a lot of that will be changing, perhaps even with this government shutdown. But being off the grid, again, it's going to reduce your utilities. So even if you're not 100% off the grid, if you just have backup power or supplemental power, solar panels, it's still going to help to reduce the amount of your electric bill. And in some cases and in some states, you can actually sell back part of the energy that you have as an abundance or as an overage of what you need back to the power companies. Now, that's not true in all states, probably not true in all counties. So, but having your own source of power helps you to become less reliant on the infrastructure itself, on the government itself. Okay. So another thing that we can do is to make our own clothes. Now, this is something that I'm probably not, it's not one of my fortes, I would say. Could I make stuff to wear? Yeah, but I can assure you that it is not going to be a fashion statement of any sort. Well, it may be, but it's not going to be a good one. So, but there are folks out there who are very good at this. In fact, there's one here in Somerset. I will put a link to her website. that she's just started a business here where they help make um, like yeah, what do they call them? Quilts. They make clothes. They can do embroidering, um, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so find somebody. If you can't do it, find somebody that you can barter with. You can grow food. I mean, almost anybody can grow something. Um, some people can make clothes that are, outstanding. Um, find those folks and then barter with them, because that's going to save you a lot more than going out and purchasing them at a store. And in most cases, clothes that are made by people that we know are of a better quality so that they will last longer. Okay, because those are the folks that usually take pride in what they do, versus this assembly line worth of clothing and stuff. Um, the same is true with our footwear. Making footwear is another way of helping to become self-reliant. The, the more self-reliant we want to become, the less we have to depend on external resources, stores, whether they're grocery stores, shoe stores, clothing stores, anything that we can do to reduce our reliance on an economic-based system is going to be better for us, especially like now where we have this government shutdown and there are a lot of people not being paid. Part of this government shutdown, based on previous experiences, there are probably a lot of government contracts, which means that there are a lot of contractors who are not going to be paid, and that there will be a lot of layoffs, and some of these larger companies that are part of this military complex. So it's something to think about. The other thing is we can, make our own tools. Whatever we can do, um, whatever we can procure that doesn't require money or going to a store or going to another business, um, is going to help us to become more self-reliant, self-sustaining. Now, even the famous or infamous, if you will, mountain men had some reliance on something. Even the mountain men, that the old trappers, they would do what they called a rendezvous once a year, and they would, all link up, sell their furs, and then they would um, buy the supplies that they would need for the next year trapping, flour, coffee, etc. So those are things. So nobody, in my opinion, is ever going to be totally self-reliant. Is it possible? Yes, but it's a lifestyle that you have to decide to do. But we can reduce our dependency on these external resources, and we can do that so that when things such as this happen, whether it's an economic collapse, whether it's grid down system, some of these things that we've talked about. One of the concerns that somebody had was a series of events. This could be considered part of this. This could be a series of events. Because we have government being shut down, we're going to have government workers who are not being paid, some who have to work, some who are not required, who are on furlough. We have government contractors who are probably being laid off or not going to be working because the money for the contract that comes from the government is not there. Some of them might, some of them won't. Whether there's an economic collapse, whether there's a grid down situation, whether there's a large-scale natural disaster, such as the hurricanes that hit Florida, the Hurricane Katrina that hit New Orleans, the hurricane that hit Puerto Rico. Whatever the situation is, everything that we can do that helps reduce our dependence on external resources is going to help us to be able to be stronger and better prepared, better ready for whatever happens. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on in this world right now. The government shutdown is definitely one of them. It's a pretty big part of one. I think there are some big changes coming pretty soon. And as a business owner, I understand the point of dealing with the economy and stuff. But my intent, my hope, is to help you to become better ready, so that when things such as this happen, you're not caught unprepared. So that's kind of the stuff that's going on right now. Again, I ask that if you have a comment, question, if there's a topic that you would like us to discuss, send it to us by email, guy@greatlivingsources.com. Leave us a comment in the comment section below this video, or you can contact me through Facebook. I have 2 Facebook pages that I maintain. One is Geo Sky, which is basically my books, and the other is Great Living Sources. We will be posting, hopefully by the end of this month, a new book that's coming out. It's called the Self-Reliance Survival Book, and it's a holistic approach to being ready. So, where we discuss some of the things that you would need to know for this. So, whatever it is, whatever challenges that you're facing, I ask that you stay focused. Remember the core calm. Remain balanced, because only when we're balanced and we are able to separate the emotion from the action are we able to use our higher reasoning to handle that type of situation, and the impact of the situation is less on our daily lives. So so that's about it for today. I ask you to stay safe, stay ready, and if you live anywhere along that line that I was telling you about, or even further north, if you live basically north of a line of Tennessee, east and west and north, I ask that you get ready. They are talking about 1 or 2 inches of snow here, but I know that they're talking about several inches in the Northeast, in the West Virginia area, and even on up into the Midwest of Indiana, Illinois, and stuff. So be ready, and like I said, stay in touch. Let us know what we can do to help. Okay, thank you. Have a great day.